Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. Wife cheated while we were stationed in different places military. Details inside. As a result, I must offer some context. My wife and I both entered the military when we were 18 years old. We arrived at our first assignment, met, and began dating. We married around 9 months later and have been married for a little more than 3 years. We lived together for around 6 months after we married. She grew up as the pastor's daughter, and she had a somewhat suppressed upbringing. Childhood of the Harry Potter is the double kind. Repressed in everything. With that, the freedom she had after moving out turned her into a bit of a deviant, which is okay since I'm a bit of a deviant myself. We tried FFM and even an MMF one once, but it left me a little uneasy. So we decided not to try it again. We really adore one another. We hurried into marriage, but I never doubted that we were prepared, and we have the love and connection to go through anything. A few months after we married, she began mentioning a new interest in BDSM and informed me that she had created an account on a website called FetLife. She solely used it to communicate with like-minded individuals and find methods to spice up our life at the time. She had a lot of interaction with this one person, with whom she looked to be friendly, but there wasn't any nasty discussion. I was okay with that and even set up my own account. When I approached him, he was really kind and assured me that he wasn't attempting to mislead me and that it was only a pleasant gesture. After a while, she gave me other texts in which she said things like, "I was thinking about you as I'd want to have another MMF someday with my husband," and I was enraged and begged her to stop. We did agree to make a compromise, and I told her we could try H-up with other couples. We did it twice before realizing that with strangers wasn't working for us, and that we were so compatible that we couldn't get the same thing from other people even if we tried. We were too familiar with one another, so we stayed with monogamy. Then I received instructions to depart that mission, but she needed to remain for a few months longer. That few months became 2 years. At one time, my friends and I decided to take a trip down to Florida, and I asked her if I could do the wingman thing with my pals and seem to be single but not really do anything. She was okay with that and told me I could kiss a female but not have with her. "If some lady wants to blow you, let her, but don't do anything back to her," she added directly. I informed her she could do the same, but she didn't seize the chance. So went down, and although I did end up kissing a lady to keep her busy while my guys had with her friends, I didn't breach any of the restrictions we had set up. After a few months, she gave me another pass. I ended up kissing a friend of mine, whom we'll name Susie. She ended up H-up with a female, and that was the end of her story. We issued passes 2 more times, and both times I H-up with Susie. The third time, my wife urged me to have with her, but I couldn't, and it was an embarrassing scenario for both of us. She also H-up with females both times. She ended up taking some time off in October of 2015, and we discussed the possibility of another FFM. We met a willing girl, Alice, but our schedules never aligned in time before wifey had to go. She advised me to connect up with Alice as a testing the waters exercise, which I did. I guess we did 4 times in all with my wife's agreement, and I grew uncomfortable because I began to feel an emotional connection to her, so I broke it off. We still did the around Christmas time, but neither me nor wifey were happy with how close Alice and I had become, so we stopped it short and vowed not to do any of this again. A few months later, I awoke intoxicated from a party to find a condom on my floor and my buddies informing me that I had with Susie. They didn't stop me because they believed it was okay because of what had happened in the past. I verified it, felt bad, and contacted my wife right once to inform her. She was furious because I had cheated on her and threatened to divorce her. We debated over the phone for a few days, but we eventually worked it out. My wife was discharged from the Army 2 months later and was allowed to go to where I am. It was wonderful to be back together, since we both adore each other and feel a tremendous level of comfort and affection to one another. Even after 2 years away, it seemed as if we'd never been separated. 6 months have passed, and it's been an incredible journey. We're madly in love, yet angry over little things like cleaning, but overall, we're back to being the power couple we used to be. We were on vacation in late August when we observed an incredibly attractive couple on the beach. We began to thinking that because it was so hot, we should try swinging again. So we saw for an available pair and found one. But our schedules never really aligned, so it hasn't happened yet. We did, however, meet up with several of our friends who are in a similar sort of relationship. Sally and Harry, we were inebriated and it felt good, so went through with it. We then considered going full open relationship and did so. We went on Tinder and began receiving matches, but I saw she was getting a lot more attention than I was, and most females aren't interested in up with a married man, even if his wife is okay with it. Guys, on the other hand, couldn't care less. So I went out one night, and she met a Tinder guy and had. After we reconnected, I was a little uneasy about it, but I knew it had occurred and felt I'd feel better if I had some too. So we got up with Harry and Sally the following night to head downtown and hit the bars. They were supposed to be my wingmen and get me laid. Wifey went to see another Tinder man, but decided not to have with him since she wasn't interested. She simply felt he seemed like a good man and wanted to meet him in person to see whether she wanted to see him in the future. We also had a rule that we had to keep everything equal. So I approached Harry and Sally about their open relationship, since they'd been doing it for a longer time. They were perplexed, since they assumed wifey and I had been in an open relationship for much longer, and she supposedly up with Harry our prior assignment when we were apart. I had no idea about any of it and contacted my wife to discuss it. She returned and informed me that she told a number of people at the former location that we were in an open marriage during the 2 years we were apart. It explained the gals and whatever she up with, but she also allegedly up with Harry and 4 other people I had no knowledge about. As a result, I became enraged. That is unethical. I'd be okay with it if she'd simply asked, but she hadn't, and she'd been keeping it a secret for the previous year or so. But given the context of my cheating and the semi-open thing we were doing, it wasn't as bad as it might have been. I told her that if that was all, I'd remain and we'd figure it out, but if I discovered anything else, I'd go. So she told me about those men and how everything went down. She said the first time she passed out intoxicated and awoke to a man having with her was assault. The next encounters were totally consensual, and she met with the potential assaulter at least one more. He was subsequently discharged from the army for abusing another soldier. She never mentioned it, but I interpreted it as something along the lines of I don't want to feel like a victim, therefore I'm regaining my autonomy. But she never informed me about it, and I'm still upset over it. I became snoopy and began reading through messages, and I discovered an effort she made to up with someone else. She was sad that she had never had the opportunity to up with a man before he obtained a fiancé. That is another act of adultery in my opinion, since she was attempting to get it, bringing the total to 6. She told me she forgot about it, since it occurred a long time ago, and she just recalls that person as her friend's boyfriend, so it didn't cross her mind. I continued reviewing her messages and saw that she had broken off all communication with all of those individuals, blocked them, and erased all of her discussions so she wouldn't be able to locate them again, as I had requested. However, I discovered that she had created her Snapchat account using a different email address since she had previously used the email address I knew to create an old account for which she had forgotten the login information. So I checked that email and discovered that she had used it to create a new FetLife account with activity as recently as the week before I discovered the infidelity. There wasn't much adultery on there, but there were a few weirdos that messaged her and she never responded. We were traveling in the vehicle when I challenged her about it, and she ran to erase everything and reset her passwords. I was concerned that it was because she was concealing anything more, but she said that she said it so that the account would be deleted after the specified number of days without my getting into Snoop and reactivating it. We spoke about everything, and she told me she had been using FetLife as interactive porn, akin to reading erotica that speaks back to you, but felt humiliated and deleted it about a week before I found out about her infidelity, which was why there had been no activity for 3 or 4 weeks. She said she never informed me because she knew it would enrage me and be the straw that broke the camel's back, causing me to leave her. I told her that I wished she had informed me, but she was probably correct, and that I would have left her if I had learned everything in one night without having time to absorb it all. I didn't trust all she said, so I worked out all the new passwords and went in to investigate. I didn't find anything objectionable, but I did discover that she had images of her, not her face, on the website. She also provided a few individuals her Kik information, but I won't be able to watch those talks since they disappear when you delete the app, which I forced her to do when I initially discovered it. I went through all of the messages and other information, then changed all of the login information to something she wouldn't recognize and schedule it for permanent deletion in 7 days. It's now gone, and none of us has access to it. I snooped on her Facebook and discovered a 3-year-old discussion with an ex from before me in which she spoke about how he wore her out and how she wanted to do it again. I examined the dates, though, and discovered that it was 3 months after she and I began dating. That was the last straw. I contacted her at work and told her not to worry about coming home that night because I was going to legal and starting divorce proceedings the next morning. I expressly provided her the option to give me the remainder of the story with complete anonymity, and she didn't. I had to find out about it on my own, and I'm tired of her nonsense and lying. Because she had nowhere else to go, and told her to return and remain in the extra room. So she came home, and we fought. I had already made up my mind to leave at this time. She sobbed and I sobbed. I knew she didn't have anybody else or someplace else to go, and felt too sorry for her to go. I gave in. She explained that she never had with that ex, but a few months into our relationship, she became concerned about how well it was going and how long it had lasted because she had never been in a relationship that long before. She felt stagnant, and when the guy made a move on her, she just let it happen as a form of self-sabotage. I understand since I felt the same way over the same time period and even tried to break up with her. She stopped me from dumping her at the time, and we had one of those times when you realize what a loving relationship is all about. She never did it again after that, not until after we were married and split and all of the aforementioned things occurred, but she had totally pushed it out of her mind and forgotten about it because of how horrible it made her feel, which is why she didn't tell me about it. I don't believe it, and I felt it was a pitiful explanation. But actually, I had already decided to remain with her a month ago, and she hasn't given me any cause to doubt that she is really committed to repairing things and making it up to me now, and I mainly believe her. However, there is still a great deal of self-doubt. I have a feeling it may happen again, and I don't want to be there when it does. But at the same time, I made the vows, which I take seriously, for better or worse. We both made mistakes when we were apart, and it was a difficult period for both of us. I feel like I can put it all behind me and start anew since I adore her and couldn't imagine my life without her. At this moment, everything is in my hands. We're in couples therapy, and the therapist suggested the idea of her becoming an addict. It's strange because I know she's 100% committed to resolving this. I'm just frightened of her relapsing and returning to it in the future, when we're older and there are children and big stakes involved. I could chop it off right now and not have any ill consequences, but I'm not sure I want to. It's just that it's really troubling me, and this helped me get it all off my chest. We're attempting to work through things, but I have a feeling this will be a long and rocky road, and I'm battling to keep my sanity.